15th meeting of the Board of Selectmen. Can I please have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from November 23rd?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We do have someone for public participation. Mr. Dunbar, if you'd like to come up to the microphones. And per the rules, you have 3 minutes to say what you want.
Well, I'm here about the meeting a month ago. There was a lot of talk about trash barrels down at my place. And I think that they should get the story straight before they make somebody look bad that they have too many trash barrels, because I have no violations whatsoever over there with trash barrels. I addressed it with Mr. Mayor, addressed it with the building department, and everything that's there is legal. And then I have another situation that I'm over here about a sign that I believe there's a certain neighbor that has a certain selectman that they like to call, and they came down and told me to move this sign off the sidewalk. And I'm coming here to say that I'm not gonna move the sign off the sidewalk until it's addressed all through the town. I seem to be the only person that's getting these complaints. I got a complaint over a sign. I see 28 signs, 23 to 28 signs on sidewalks in the town. Why is it only me that they come down and they take my sign and they take it across the street and bring it back to me? So I think I'm here just to address this situation, that I don't think I have these violations, and I think if some neighbor's gonna catch the ear of certain selectmen, that they should address it before they send them out and make me look bad. That's all I'm here for, okay?
Thank you. We're going to table item number 3A. So we'll be moving on to 3B. We need a motion and a second to accept the resignation letter of Constable Robert Foley.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I'd like to thank him for all of the time that he put in. Bob's a great guy.
Absolutely. Yep, sad to see him go, but
He would not have left except for health issues.
Right.
Yeah.
absolutely. All in favor of accepting the letter?
Aye.
So, next on the item, on the agenda is licenses and permits. And we have almost every establishment in town. We need a motion and a second to approve all of the common victualler license. We're not gonna read all the names, but just, there are several, including places like Artichokes Brothers, Socorro, Honeydew. So, just so people understand what we're doing.
And these names are available.
The names are available on the web.
They were
on the
posted
website.
with the agenda.
Absolutely.
So
And if they
moved.
would be with the approval of the Board of Health and the building inspector, which he goes out and, does them all before we.
Second.
All in favor of accepting the names as presented, subject to the approval of the Board of Health and Building Inspector?
Aye.
Next, we are moving on to, again, agenda item 4B that was also, it's also posted on the website. We need a motion and a second to approve all of the liquor licenses within the restaurants as presented, again, subject to approval by any of the authorities that speak to that.
And none of these are new, these are all existing.
Yes.
All existing, yes, absolutely.
So moved.
Moved by Betsy, second by Paul, all in favor?
Aye.
3C, we need a motion and a second to approve both of the liquor licenses for in-holders in town.
So moved.
Question,
Yes.
Steve, have all the issues we've had with Clarion been cleared up?
Yes, they are working very well with the building inspector, so.
Thank you.
A little touch and go, but it is working well now.
So again, as presented with the, subject to approval of Board of Health and Building Inspectors.
So moved.
Moved by Betsy.
Second.
Second by Pat, all in favor?
Aye.
4D, we need a motion and a second to approve all of the liquor licenses to the local clubs, social clubs in Wakefield.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Paul, second by Betsy, all in favor?
Aye.
4C, we need a motion and a second to approve all the liquor licenses for beer and wine for the restaurants presented.
So moved.
Moved by Betsy, second by Paul, all in favor?
Aye.
We need a motion and a second to approve all of the liquor licenses for package stores. Obviously, subject to any of the authorities that govern that issue. Moved by
So moved.
Betsy, second by
Second.
Tiz, all in favor?
Aye.
One abstention, please.
You're the
Did we
abstention?
approve?
Abstention?
Sorry.
Okay.
Yes, I have a
Table
conflict with copper hours.
Sure. 4G, we need a motion and a second to approve all of the lodging house licenses.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Betsy, second by Paul, as presented again, subject to the authorities that control those issues. All in favor?
Aye.
We need a motion and a second to approve all of the entertainment licenses in town.
Right, and these may be televisions,
Right.
radios, whatever, it's not, could be many things.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Betsy, second by Paul, all in favor?
Aye.
We need a motion and a second to approve the fortune teller license of our one psychic in town.
Wait,
I can't say what I always say. She should know. So
think she knows
moved.
what we just voted?
She should know.
Moved by, giving you Paul, second by Tiz, all in favor?
Aye.
We need a motion and a second to approve all of the automated device license. Can you explain what that is?
This could be a pinball machine, Pac-Man, things like that, video games, things like that.
Dating yourself quite a bit
I'm
there.
dating myself.
All in favor? Motion and second?
Second. Motion.
Second.
Moved by Pat, second by Tiz, all in favor?
Aye.
We need a motion and a second to approve all of the Class 1 dealer licenses as presented.
So moved.
Moved by Betsy.
Second.
Second by Paul, all in favor?
Aye.
We need a motion and a second to approve all of the Class 2 dealer licenses, again, subject to any of the authorities that govern those businesses.
So moved.
Moved by Phyllis,
Second.
second by Tiz, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're all done
Yeah,
with
I
that.
just have a quick question. I saw that the duck walk was mentioned in some of these
Yeah.
licenses.
The duck walk has not transferred yet,
Okay.
so that's the issue.
Just want to make sure, yeah.
And if there's switches in licenses from the time that the list was presented, or that'll be handled by
Yep.
sending out the
Okay.
licenses. Okay, 5A, we need a motion and a second to approve a request from Sharon Gilly, Director of the Lucius Beebe Memorial Library, to accept and expend gifts to the library in the amount of $2,025.27.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Paul, second by Tiz, all in favor.
Aye.
Within your packets, there was an ethics disclosure by James Lappery, which will not impair the town. We need a motion and a second to vote that the ethics disclosure will not impair the town.
So moved that we accept it.
Moved by Betsy?
Second.
Second by Paul, all in favor.
Aye.
Okay. Next on our agenda is the Rail to Trail. If you come up to the
So Rick
table
Benevento,
and
please come up and team.
introduce yourselves, please.
Good evening. For the record, Rich Benevento. I'm the president of World Tech Engineering. Good evening. To my left is Bill Mertz. Bill is vice president of World Tech. He'll be going through an update for the Rail Trail project. And to my far left is Randy Collins. He is with Beta Engineering. They're our partner on this project. There are several sub-consultants as well, but Beta is our major partner on this project. We wanted to come in and just give the board an update as to where the project is. It's been going on for quite some time, as many of you know. And progress is being made. We're looking forward to trying to get a 25% design submission to Mass DOT in the late spring or summer. But we wanted to bring you up to date on some of the community activities that have been going on, and also some of the upcoming meetings that we're planning to have in January to again inform the public. But just let me go very quickly through the project, just so you have an idea of some of the history of the project. Many of you may have that history, some of you may not. The project is 4.4 miles. It begins at the Galvin Middle School. And how's that? Okay, there you go. Begins at the Galvin Middle School and extends through Wakefield and Linfield to the Peabody City line. So it's about 4.4 miles. About 1.8 miles of that is located in Wakefield. About 2.5 miles of that is located in Linfield. A significant piece of the project in Linfield, 0.6 miles, is through the Reedy Meadow, which has been a significant challenge, as you might imagine. The project was submitted to Mass DOT for funding eligibility through the State Transportation Improvement Program, and that was approved by the Project Review Committee as eligible for $7.6 million. And it's currently listed on the FY 2018 Transportation Improvement Program. That's a very competitive program. You probably know about that. So we have to continue to keep that front and center with Mass DOT to make sure it's receiving priority consideration. Here's a map of the project. You can see where it's in the Linfield portion is in yellow, and then you can see where it extends through, the Wakefield portion in yellow, and you can see where it extends in green through Linfield. And then you can see that section through the Reedy Meadow. In 2004, the Wakefield Rail Trail Committee was formed, and at that time, the state had allocated about $30,000 to do a feasibility study for the rail trail. And then in 2008, Senator Tassay, as well as Rep. Clark and Rep. Falzone, included $500,000 in the transportation bond bill for the design of the project. That money was accessed to do the preliminary design of the project, which is what we're using right now to get the project through the preliminary design phase. In 2010, September of 2010, the town put out an RFP and received RFPs from Mass DOT qualified firms. In 2012, the project was deemed eligible for state highway funds, state and federal funds, which I just mentioned a moment ago. And then in December of 2013, the town of Wakefield, as the lead agency, entered into an agreement with WorldTech and our design team, which included Beta, GZA Environmental Consultants, LEC, a local firm here, is doing the environmental permitting, and we had a survey firm as well, and they're doing survey work. In April of 2014, the preliminary design phase began, and we had informational meetings both in Wakefield and in Linfield, just to talk about the project, present it to the public that this project was being contemplated, and to get input from the public, which were well attended both in Linfield and Wakefield. The project is advancing. We had completed the survey, we completed the geotechnical engineering, and Bill Mertz is going to get into a little bit as to where we are with those efforts right now, and then what are the next steps in order to get us to a 25% design submission to Mass DOT. Bill?
Thank you, Rich. So as Rich mentioned, we've done a lot of upfront kind of investigative type work that puts us in a position now to move forward with the preliminary design. We've established the horizontal and vertical alignment of where the trail is going to be. So we know that's pretty much established. We've looked at at-grade crossings, and what that is where the trail interfaces with local roadways and how we'll safely cross those locations. Excuse me. Analysis of the Reedy Meadow. We talked about a rail car alternative, and I'll get to that in a little bit of detail. It was basically the use of abandoned rail cars for crossing the Reedy Meadow. We've done an assessment of environmental impacts, basically impacts on wetlands, particularly in the floodplain. And we've also done an assessment of the landscaping, trail and screening alternatives, which Randy will go through a little bit in more detail. We completed the geotechnical investigations. That was predominantly for where we're going to have the structure throughout the Reedy Meadow, making sure the soil is going to be able to support whatever structure we put through that resource area. Completed a hydraulic analysis, looking at the floodplain and what impacts the trail may have on the level of flooding in the area on the 100-foot flood zone. The rail car alternative was dismissed for a number of factors: geotech, hydraulic, and logistics, and I'll get to that here. So the top picture was really what we intended to use as the structure for crossing the Reedy Meadow. Basically a flat rail car where we would put a timber walkway and railing system on top of those cars, and basically it would be supported by the existing rails in place. What we found out from a hydraulic analysis is it's basically a volume analysis where the structure of the car takes up a certain volume, and it will result in a rise of a couple inches in the floodplain, and any rise in the floodplain from a regulatory perspective, is essentially a fatal flaw for that alternative. So that's one impact. Geotechnically, differential settlement as far as the type of soils the cars would settle in a different fashion. I know it's a rail car, but in this case, the rail cars are going to be a dead load as opposed to moving. So there will be settlement over the first year of construction. Logistics was really the most difficult issue here. Procuring these, we need almost 70. And these aren't structures where you can just go into a warehouse and buy 70 of these rail cars. So it was really a process where we have to go find companies that have these cars, and it ended up being almost a bidding process, and where there are a few at a time, but we need 70. So our concern was when we put a contract out for bid for contractors, if they're not able to secure 70 at that time, we need to go back to the drawing board, and that's change of time, which means more money. As far as the cost, they're approximately $15,000 on average. Like I said, we need 70, so that's around $1 million in just purchasing these structures in and of themselves. Delivery, they're 70 feet long, trying to get those rail cars around local streets. The rail system isn't continuous, so the logistics there. And there's an additional $1.50 per mile per car to transport. So when you add all these things together, it becomes quite cumbersome, and didn't seem as attractive as it did in the beginning.
One thing I want to mention here too is we're talking about the rail car option, and that was specifically for the Reedy Meadow, which is primarily in Linfield. The reason we're talking about it is because this is a composite project. It's not just Wakefield, it's not just Linfield, it's both communities. And that, when we're looking at these types of things, we have to look in the composite as to how can we build it, how much is it going to cost, because at the end of the day, both communities are in the project together. So that's why I wanted to give you an update on that, because that was really a very significant component of this project. How are we going to get across the Reedy Meadow? And Bill's going to talk about how we think we're going to get across it right now.
So an alternative to the rail car is an elevated boardwalk structure. It's basically a timber structure. They've actually become quite popular. There are several being constructed right now. The cost, approximately, we haven't even designed these, it's from a conceptual standpoint, is around $120 per foot, which is around $700,000 compared to the well over $1 million that the rail car option would present. We're not even in preliminary design, it's at a conceptual level right now. The original contract was for looking at the rail car alternative. So now we need to go and secure additional funding for the design of the elevated boardwalk. We mentioned we've got some upcoming neighborhood meetings. I think right now they're tentatively scheduled for the week of January 11th. We're going to present the plans that we do have. And Randy's going to go through some just the kinds of graphics that we're going to be presenting at those neighborhood meetings to give residents and interested parties an idea of what they're going to see when the trail is ultimately completed.
Thank you, Bill. Randy Collins from Beta Group. The landscape approach to this project is one that is looking to create a linear park throughout the length of the trail. And a number of things are important to be looked at for that aspect of the project, including what do the trailheads look like, what do the parking areas look like, what do any street crossings look like, and then adding into the project elements such as how do we screen abutters, how do we put signage in place, are there opportunities for plantings, trees to be saved, and then in looking at the Reedy Meadow, there's the island in the center, and looking at that as an opportunity to be able to provide some sort of recreation, passive recreation space, or possibly overlook. So the slide up there now is looking at some of the graphics that we're going to be presenting. As we've been mentioning, this project is sort of a conceptual design leading to a 25% submission. And we're looking for these meetings with the public to be able to get their input for the different project components as it relates to the aesthetics of that. And also, very importantly, looking at having a conversation with the public on what kind of screening would be the desired screening for the length of the project. The project has got a lot of different characteristics. In some places, the rail car gets cut through a slope, so you have slopes coming down, the rail gets through a cut slope. In some places, a fill slope, so now you have it dropping off to the abutters. And in some places, it's relatively flat. Each one of those could be a guiding factor on how we would suggest screening would be placed out there. But part of the effort of the meeting is to be able to have that conversation with those who are concerned and would like screening, to be able to talk about the types of screening that we would be including in the project. And then as a linear park, but also as a recreation facility, the kinds of amenities, meaning trash barrels, bike racks, benches, and those types of things, we'll be talking about how those get integrated into the project, as well as what their look and feel could be, and how that's gonna be part of the overall project, and how it adds to, or is part of the character of the rail trail project.
Some of the key components of the trail are, as Randy mentioned, some of the trailhead. So the trail starts at the Galvin Middle School. There's a trailhead there. The parking area on Water Street, at Water Street, and the major crossing there, it's already a signalized intersection. We want to make sure that we're designing that in such a way that when folks are using the trail, they can navigate through traffic and get through that crossing safely. And that goes for every street crossing that it crosses. So each and every one of those has to be looked at. And then when we're looking at it from a traffic and safety point of view, we're also looking at it in an aesthetic point of view, so that we can guide people when they're on the trail, where they're going, they know where they are, where they can access the trail, and things like that. Bill?
So that was a really quick synopsis of the past year, in which a lot was done, quite frankly, up to this point. So this next slide is just really to give you an idea of the next steps and what the timeframes are. We're going to talk with the public and the neighborhood meeting. I think that January 11th is the week. I'm not sure the date is actually set yet, but it is going to be that week. Following that submission, we're going to get, meeting, we're going to get some input from the public and move forward with a 25% design submission. That's to Mass DOT, likely late spring, early summer. And from that point, we're really into the Mass DOT process, which is a linear process, which is quite frankly controlled by them. They'll review our 25% design submission. Upon their review, they'll allow us to go ahead with the actual Mass DOT 25% design public hearing as part of their formal process. And then you're into their reviews. There's reviews at 25, 75, 100 PSE. It's a multi-pronged process. For the contract right now is currently through the 25% design, and then upon approval from Mass DOT and talking with the municipalities, move forward to hopefully 100% completion and move into construction.
I also wanted to introduce two very strong supporters of the trail that are here tonight, and one is your own Dot Halpin from the Wakefield Rail Trail Committee, and also Janet Long from Linfield, who is, they've both been working very, very hard to make this project a reality, so hats off to them for their diligence. And with that, if you have questions, we're here to answer, hopefully.
Brian?
I have a few. Just on the, I know you're not doing it, but the rail car design, it seems really interesting to me. It's also kind of ironic that we can't get rail cars onto the train tracks, so that's a problem. But, so what was the issue with the hydraulic? I didn't understand what the effect the rail car would have on raising the water level up around.
So what is the, if I can go back, the actual structure of the rail car, like the wheels and the support structures underneath, that takes up volume. So when we have 70 cars,
you would sink the truck of the...
No, that would be on the rails, but what happens
okay.
is the water level rises above the tracks in a lot of places.
So the flood
So-
elevation.
Oh, the tracks
elevation.
are already underwater.
Yes, and that takes up space.
So when you
so-
put those in, it'll displace.
And even where the tracks may be out of water, the 100-year flood elevation,
Yeah.
the tracks would be in the water.
Yeah.
And that takes up storage. As
Yeah.
minor as it is, it would raise the Reedy Meadow about 3
It's
inches.
amazing. It seems like a lot.
Right, yeah, obviously, price, quite frankly, too. But that's the attractiveness of having the rail car up 3 or so feet, because it would be above.
Yeah,
the
yeah, I
water
thought it would be a
elevation.
perfect solution, right?
Right.
So I guess you did too. Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Just real quick on the math, I don't mean to do it to you, but just, you said that at $125 a linear foot, I think, or was it a square foot?
Linear.
All right, linear foot, it was, for 0.6 of a mile is 700K, but that's only, it's like 400K. So are there other costs in there?
I'm not sure, actually.
Well, there would be the cost of the transitioning up and down, so leading into that solution, the raised boardwalk area, you'd have to get, because in other locations, just outside the Reedy Meadow, the rail trail would be at grade. And so we're still gonna need to go up. And so if you're thinking about the rail car grade, the current rail line grade being this table, we're gonna probably be up about 3 feet above that. So if you, we need to transition up to that level. And by making it ADA accessible, we're talking about probably, 1 in 20. So for every 1 inch or every 1 foot, we're going 20 feet. So it's not a huge number, but we do need to build a structure to get ourselves up to that level.
And this is really order of magnitude at this point. We haven't.
Yeah,
gotten to
it's
the
okay.
design
And I'm not sensing that, and I don't want to be naive about it, that money isn't necessarily the biggest problem here. It sounds like community support might be a problem. Is that the?
Well, typically, I would
It has
say,
been,
I would say
in some
typically,
places.
a lot of projects like this, community support can be an issue.
Yeah, all right. And then what happens with, at the trailhead would basically be at the Galvin Middle School, that area. Does the default mean people want to park, they park in the Galvin parking lot? I mean, I think that's it, right?
Well,
Is that ideal, or is that a disaster? I don't
We've
know.
actually identified an area across the street that would be available for parking as part of the trail. Also parking at the Water Street crossing where the old depot is. That is designated as a designated parking area for the trail. And then other places. What we don't want is areas where people are gonna go into neighborhoods and park on neighborhood streets and things like that. So we're sensitive to that as well.
Yeah.
So we wanna make sure that there's designated parking areas, so when people wanna use the trail, they have a place to park. Granted, some of those things are limited, and we're trying to do the same thing in Linfield, to where we can identify parking areas. So for example, the trail goes past the Linfield Middle School, goes past the Linfield High School. Those access points that have been designated. And some of those were actually identified way back when they did the feasibility study as to where these areas would be available for parking and where the best access points to the trail would be, designated access points. You can access the trail at any street crossing, but where are the designated access points? That's important to know. You know. One other thing I want to mention too about the construction costs, because this is listed on the tip, this is 100% construction funded, 100% construction funded. So it's paid for through federal and state funding. Right now, it's listed as the acronym is CMAQ. It's considered it stands for Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality. That's a separate federal funding category, and this project is identified within the CMAQ funding category, which is it's a huge benefit because it's. I'm not going to say as competitive, because all federal funding right now is very competitive, but it's in a category that's specific to these kinds of projects.
Okay, and then, if you don't mind, a couple of questions. Just remind me, so I look at the project, I see it, your design has to go to Mass DOT for approval. What approval do we have over it, or what do you need from us, or where can we insert ourselves? if
You
we
review it
love
before
or
we send
hate
it to
something?
them.
Okay, so you only send it to them with our blessing?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
So this is a town design.
Okay.
So with any TIP project, the city or town, in this case, the two towns, are responsible for the engineering, right-of-way, and environmental permitting. And that is a requirement with any Mass DOT TIP project. They fund it, to build it, you administer the design of the project. So it becomes a town design. So before we send anything to Mass DOT, it would be sent to the two towns, and your respective Public Works and Engineering and so forth would review it and have comments and that sort of thing. As a matter of fact, what we like to do is before Mass DOT comes out for their official public hearing, we like to have enough community meetings so we've vetted any questions that the public may have as well. Because the last thing we want is Mass DOT showing up and having the public show up, and it's like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
So we want to make full transparency to make sure people know what's happening with the project.
All right, and then just further to that, sorry. if I
That's
may.
okay.
We're here for about 40 or 50 more questions.
Yeah, all right, good. I'm gonna use
Good, I have about
38
20
of
of
them, so who are we? I just forget. Which part, is it this board? Do we have a subcommittee? Who's asking you to act? Is it just Dot's awesome and, things are happening, or?
We commissioned this like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Well,
The feasibility study.
Started with
6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah, So where are we? Like, who's
2004,
who's
right?
on this?
This is the, want me to
No, go
take
ahead,
that?
please, go ahead.
This is these are our consultants, Town of
Yeah.
Wakefield consultants, under a contract signed by the Board of Selectmen.
Yes.
It's administered by us, and this is really an update, so they will be going forward to Mass DOT. We'll be looking for more money from Mass DOT, as we just mentioned, and everything will come back to this board for final blessing. Also, this board needs to sign the railway agreement to build it, that we'll
Right.
get into later. We spent a lot of time that years ago, so this is still a little bit in the beginning of the process, but
And is the Rail to Trail Committee empowered or has any authority delegated by this board, or is that a grassroots?
that's
you just by yourself,
yeah,
or
completely grassroots.
is it?
We work with them, but yeah.
Very grateful, by the way. It's all
Yeah.
good. Yeah, I'm just making sure. All right, okay. Should we be doing more? I don't know. It just seems like these folks have been doing yeoman's work for, I don't know, a decade now. And should we be doing more, this committee? Should there be a subcommittee? Should we be doing something to really help push the ball forward?
We're
or
certainly
are
happy
you
to have
good?
that if you want.
Well, we're really kind of in the background now. I mean, we are a 7-member committee, but right now, we're just sitting here like the rest of you, because these are the guys that are the movers and shakers right now.
And when we had our public meeting, our very first public meeting in Wakefield, we had two, we had one in Wakefield and one in Linfield. And the Wakefield meeting was very well attended, and folks were very supportive of the project. I'm gonna leave it right there.
Well, don't leave it right there. So what you're saying is, and I've heard this, I'm just curious, that there's concerns in Linfield, and probably fairly so. It seems like this might go closer to people's backyards and neighborhoods in Linfield than it does in Wakefield, so.
Well,
I don't know.
Janet has been working diligently in Linfield, and since that time, which was a couple of years ago now, there's been a groundswell of support for the project in Linfield. The selectmen are definitely in support of the project, and Janet, I don't know if you want to comment at all, but from where we were then to where we are now, is night and day. I mean, there's some support there. And as we get further into the process and we have a chance to discuss with abutters and address their concerns and things like that, it helps the process. We all know that when a project starts, you know, you're gonna pave Farm Road, Farm Street out here, and the next thing you know, I-95 is coming through.
This town embraces change very well, generally.
Yeah.
Two things, so just on screening, just curious about that, I keep hearing about screening the trail. Is that a double-edged sword? When you screen the trail, do you create a good hiding place for people who wanna do bad things, or is screening the trail all positive?
Well, usually screening is at the desire of the abutting property owner. Generally speaking, you don't usually have any worries as far as that goes. A lot of people bring up concerns about having those from out of town who are the bad seeds that are now gonna be in my backyard. But if you were to look at studies, and part of what we'll be doing when we have the public meetings in the two towns, is to bring forth a number of studies. If you looked at crime rate within the town, and then look at the same sort of crime rates on examples trails, you actually find the crime rates on the trails are a lot less than in the town in general. So, you know, it's, whenever you have something going through someone's backyard, there's definitely some reason to be concerned about things. But as far as screening goes, we're really looking to be able to have a conversation with each of the residents and find out what they want. You know, there's benefits to screening from the trail user's perspective as well. If you're cutting through what is a residential neighborhood after going out of a more wooded area back into another wooded area, it gives a sense of continuity for that. And then obviously the residents get a sense of screening, so when they're in their backyard, they don't feel as though there are any issues with people, you know, causing disruption there.
Okay.
But as far as the safety goes, it usually doesn't usually make a big difference.
Yeah, okay. And then just the last thing, if you're interested, maybe hear from the woman from Linfield about the progress they're making there, since she's here at some point. Whenever.
Sure, briefly, yeah, if you'd like to come up and just,
Sorry, just curious.
Thank you. Our guys have been doing a great job for us, and I think one of the things with Linfield. My name is Janet Long, and I'm the Rail Trail, actually Recreational Path Committee Chair. And one of the nice things with Richard and his team has been is they've really provided us with a lot of information. We've been out talking to our public a great deal, and I think that actually triggers some of the feelings that people had. It's like, you know, now you're talking about something, so let's get talking about it. So we got some interest and excitement, but I'm really pleased to say that we've been very responsive. We went door to door for every one of our abutters, and we've found more people who are positive than not. But we do have people who aren't positive who are very vocal. So, and you know, your counterpart, Stephen always says, you gotta get the majority, the silent, wonderful majority out, and that's what we're planning on doing, because we had a tremendous response. And again, back to Wakefield, we have a Facebook page, and on Facebook, that thing is ticking every single day. People are very excited about it in Wakefield. And then in Linfield, same. So, and if anyone knows sort of the Facebook world, over 600 likes is not nothing. So it's on both towns. So
That's great.
people really are looking forward to this amenity, and we're excited to be working with your team. Thank you.
You're doing a great job yourself.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Paul?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Just a couple of questions. Does the actual width of the right-of-way vary as you go through Wakefield and Linfield?
There's some places where the track is a double track, and it's more at the beginning of the trail down near the Galvin Middle School. But for the most part, the right-of-way is significant enough that it doesn't really affect the design of the trail. And I think if you're going to the question, will there be any land acquisitions or that sort of thing, in case that was a question. There
No,
isn't.
no. I'll go from my experience. I am railroad for my profession, and typically the single iron right-of-way is 25 feet. And I'm looking at your drawings here, and it's only using 18 feet as a guide. I mean, is that going to be the final 18 feet? Or is the right-of-way actually 25 feet, and you're just not using all of it?
Yeah, we're not using all of the right of way.
Okay, is there a reason why you're not using, to make it wider?
Well, in a lot of instances is wetlands on either side of the embankment of the trail. So in a lot of cases, our trail width is varying. Where we don't have wetland impacts, we have a 12-foot trail.
Right.
And then where the wetlands creep up to the embankment, we're reducing it to a 10-foot trail. So we're really, and environmentally is what's driving the width in a lot of places. In a lot of places, the wetlands abut right the embankment of the rail bed.
Okay, and my other question is, if you're going with the raised platform type, I mean, you must be putting in a significant amount of pilings. Isn't that a concern now, raising the water level as well?
Well, that is part of the analysis for, we're gonna propose, we think we're proposing what's called a micropile. It's like a drilled auger pile. And we're hoping that has a less impact than the underbelly of the structure of the rail car itself. So it's one helical pile as opposed to the chassis of the rail bed, of the rail car.
Is that the reason why we went to a further loop up, away, out of the wetlands in order to go, as we go through Linfield? It looks like it's more out of the wetlands as it goes across to the end.
Well, it's following the existing rail bed. We're never outside the rail bed.
As far as the wetlands are concerned, so the wetlands impact is only a small area though. That's what I'm trying to get at. So it's usually from what, 128 up until just about Pillings Pond?
That's where the majority of the wetland impacts are, yes.
Okay.
It's a stretch just south on the Wakefield side of 128 through the Reedy Meadow. That's where all the impacts are, right there.
Okay, thank you.
I understand.
Yes.
Just a couple of quick questions. So once this is built, the whole structure's built, we have trash barrels everywhere, we have these beautiful rail heads, looks like some pavers, some plantings. This gets turned over to the town of Wakefield to maintain, right?
The Wakefield section does, yes.
Yeah. So that includes, how much of that boardwalk that we see? Is that mostly Linfield or is that Wakefield?
The majority of it is in Linfield.
Okay.
There's a small piece from, if you look, maybe if we go back to the map. Right there. Okay, so, does this have a pointer on it too? So if you look, can you make out where I-95, right where it goes from yellow to green, you can see I-95.
Yep, I have the map here.
So there's that small piece just north of I-95 that is still in Wakefield.
Yep.
But the lion's share of that, that boardwalk is in Linfield.
Okay, I mean, it's gonna require quite a bit of maintenance. You're gonna
Well-
have rotted boards every so often. I mean, you're in wetlands. I'm just saying, you know, it's wood.
Well, the idea here is, and we were actually talking about that earlier, likely the decking would be a composite material as opposed to wood, something that's gonna last longer. The idea too is, when we're designing any project, particularly for Mass DOT, they want longevity. So when we design a road, it has to have a 15 to a 20-year life. Similar with this. They're gonna be paying for it, they wanna make sure it's gonna last.
Yep.
So the idea is to have low-maintenance materials, whether it be the decking for crossing the Reedy Meadow, whether it be the type of plantings and those type of features that are on the trail, things that, you know, you don't have to be out there, you know, pruning 6 times a year and all that kind of thing. So that's the idea.
Will Linfield have a hefty maintenance budget? So like if we cross from Wakefield into Linfield?
No, actually, we're excited that it is low maintenance. And one of the points you mentioned earlier was the trash barrels. I walk on a lot of trails and they don't have them at all, and people don't leave trash.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing. People take possession and they will call the town guy if they see a bottle or something, or they'll pick it up themselves.
It works great, down on Cape Cod, there's a great
That's
rail
right.
trail, and it works great.
That's
You know, the
right.
town takes a lot of pride in it, there's monument stones marking miles, and it's a really great thing, so I'm excited,
Yeah.
questions, that's all.
We, when we did the geotech along the trail, we had to cut the brush through the Reedy Meadow. We went out there afterwards to walk it after it was cut. I don't know if any of you have been out there. It's spectacular. It really is. I mean, it was a beautiful day. It was about 65 degrees out, the sun was out, and
Yep.
it was really
Is it
spectacular.
walkable right now, or is it?
Yeah, it's still walkable.
Without going underwater? and all that stuff?
Well, when you get to 128, it's probably standing water
If
there.
you start from the Linfield side?
But if you start from the Linfield side, you can walk, start right at the golf course, the Linfield golf
Saugus
course.
River runs
Yeah.
alongside it. For some-
Sorry?
The Saugus River runs alongside it, I think, for some portions of it.
Near Beaver Brook Crossing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's really beautiful up there, it
Yeah.
really is.
Good.
And well, part of Randy's job is to provide areas for overlooks and things like that, and information features and things like that, so when people are out there, that you know what you're looking at.
Were you guys involved in the one in Danvers? The one that goes through Danvers and DVD up into the? No?
No.
Okay.
We should
Sounds
have.
very similar.
We
It's
should have.
really- No, I've put all the bikes in the car, 5 of us, and gone up and biked that whole trail with my family and my kids.
So the fire that was up there over the summer, did that help you as far as clearing out that part of the Reedy Meadow? Because it was a good significant fire up there.
Was it?
It didn't touch the right-of-way area.
Oh.
Actually, fascinatingly, it stopped short of that, but it's a beautiful island there with a lot of old wood and big trees. It stopped just like that. So fires happen in our marsh all the time. I was there a week later and you would not have known. But fires do happen in marshes, and that place has had big fires before. Our fire department is excited they can get the vehicle in there next time. They couldn't this year.
Good.
Great.
I just think it was an excellent presentation.
Yeah. Oh,
Right to the point. It's not your first rodeo, I'm assuming, so I look forward to your next update.
Thank you.
Appreciate
And
it.
thank you to Dot, who's been on this thing since, with her husband Emmett since
Forever.
heaven knows when.
Well, the
Thank
more
you.
tangible it becomes and visceral and people can see it, I think you'll allay a lot of the fears that people were throwing of the, you know, person hiding in the bushes, jumping out, which has not shown to be true in these other, the Lexington Bedford way, down the Cape. So I think if people can imagine it, it makes it much more, they'll understand it and want it.
They found that house listings in Lexington have a higher value. That's a feature if they're near the Minuteman
Without a
Trail.
doubt. I drive by it all the time, and it is lovely, and it's, if Lexington and Bedford families can handle it, Linfield and Wakefield can handle it.
Right.
We're not that much, you know, snazzier, by any means.
Thank you for.
Thank
allowing
you
us to
very
come in.
much.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Good luck. Let us know what you need.
All right. Our next item is an intermunicipal agreement with Reading that we talked about at a few meetings.
Right, in 2012, actually, this board did enter into a municipal agreement with the town of Reading regarding sharing the chief assessor. And that has worked out very well. It probably saves us close to $40,000 a year. In what we're trying to do, you can certainly spread some of the costs around. I have seen no drop-off in any of the Wakefield services that we've received from our assessor. You can see when Victor comes in here, it's all very well done. His assessing package, what have you, for tax classification. Reading is very happy with the arrangement. And what I'd like to do is like to continue this for a 3-year period. Town council has reviewed the contract, which is in the package. It does give us the ability to terminate this at any time if we do wish. I don't think we would, but things change and things could happen. But this has been a great agreement. We've used the same form of agreement for the other areas that we share with some other communities, and I would recommend that we continue this relationship with Reading.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
I do have the agreement here. I'm going to get it signed, and I'll send that around while we're continuing.
And the last item on the agenda is Steve's budget preview for the fiscal year 2017.
I'm always hesitant to stand between this board and adjournment. So while they're getting this ready for us to...
No, you're not. Love that. You throw your
Always
voice.
hesitant. Anyways, I do like to start out, I know they're trying to get this up on the machine here, but a lot of people have seen these numbers before. I'd like to start out where we were, where we are right now. And right now, I think Wakefield has been a great financial success story, and a lot of that credit goes with this board right here, which has done a fabulous job. After this latest town meeting, we will have around $19 million in reserves. $3 million in stabilization fund, $6.6 million in free cash, the reserve fund with Finance Committee, $300,000, OPEB, $8 million in OPEB, and the changes that this board made in OPEB, which is other post-employment benefits, meaning health insurance for our retirees, is the changes that we made by going to the GIC, which a lot of you board members were there when we did this. I think I forced you to come in, I think, on July 4th to vote for this, and I apologize for that, but that has saved the town millions and millions of dollars. We're getting a better return on that. Our investment rate is 7.75%, return from 4%. And the final portion is that we are actually funding in our budget process $1.8 million, which, so we are funding our annual required contribution. That will be in this this budget that we'll be voting on this year, or I will recommend that.
I have to sign
Which
this.
means that we have saved about $63 million in potential liability over the last 3 years. So really a great job by this board in that regard.
Yeah, what do I gotta sign?
So budget priorities, I talk to you guys all the time about what our budget priorities would be, and the number one purview of this board, I think, is public safety. We've all talked about that, roads and sidewalks. We're really trying to do what we can on those plans right here. Drainage, we actually have a town-wide drainage study that will be released shortly that we can talk about and really strategizing everywhere in town. Wakefield is landlocked, so to speak, with drainage, so we have to work with some of our other communities to get to the sea, to get rid of any drainage issues, but we'll have a plan going forward. Capital improvements, this board has been great about maintaining a capital budget with our capital plan of $2 million a year. That I intend to have in this budget, within our budget, so we're not getting behind the 8 ball like we were before. One thing that's new, and I'm calling it business development, I guess it's not new, but it's something we are going to be focusing on more and more, and at a future meeting, I will be bringing to this board presentation on the kind of downtown study that's being worked on and being completed. We do need to see what we can do to move our downtown forward. There are some very bright spots there, and I think we can get that moving. Contracts, we settled most of our contracts last year. In fact, every union is under contract right now. The supervisors union is up on June 30th, and the reason being is we just did a 1 year, because we are in the middle of a study right now where we studied every job description there. They hadn't been looked at since, I want to say, the 70s. And same thing with our clerical union, which we did a few years ago, and that made for a much better contract there. I put at the bottom recreation activities. We are creating a great partnership right now between the current school program, the after-school program, and our new rec director. And part of that is creating programs that bring in young families to town, that have something for our people older, like myself, that would like to go to, and what have you, that brings a lot of people into town. And I really believe that by working with the school department closely, and we've talked about this, we can keep a lot of our children here in Wakefield that are going to the charter schools and that are costing us a lot of money on our cherry sheet. I think we can compete with them by offering those programs in their own backyard, so we are working hard to do that together. So again, I'd like to talk about the policies that this board has adopted. We have reserve policy. We want to have free cash, about 8% of our operating account. We should be, and we're over that. We're at 6.6 million, where our policy would say a maximum of 6, so we're a little bit over that. Stabilization, 3% of operating revenue. We would be around 2.2 million. We're at 3, so we're in good shape there. And our reserve fund, which the finance committee handles, you may remember that a few years ago, we increased that to $300,000, and that has worked out very well. So now I put my numbers together. This is my first pass at this, and these are things that Kevin and I, our town accountant, work at, and we kind of work at it differently. I've said to you this before. We have different ways of approaching the budget and different methodologies, and then we meet in the middle, and it really works out well. And what is amazing at this point now is that I know very few numbers for sure. So a lot of it is my prognostications, and Kevin's working together with him. Tax levy. I know what our tax levy will be for next year. That's pretty simple. I take this year and I multiply that by 2.5%. So that $64 million figure I do know. State aid, I don't know. My sense is that we're going to get a little bit of an increase in state aid. Governor Baker has stated a real commitment to state aid. I'm looking at a little bit more on that, not a lot, a couple $100,000 more than we got this year, based on the governor's comments and based on, I think we have more students that we have retained because of the new Galvin, so I think we'll get a little more Chapter 70 money. What is interesting is that I should get these numbers on the MMA conference in January, and for those of you that attend with me, you could see where my mood goes when those numbers come in. It's either up or it's down. And then I'd count on you to take me out to cheer me up. But no, it's actually, I think we'll be in good shape. Local receipts, SBA of about close to $1 million. I know that number. That's what we're getting from this school business administration. That's not going to change. Local receipts, around $6 million. I think that's a solid number. Actually, it's coming a little higher over the last few years, but I do look a little bit conservatively on that to make sure that we don't have a shortfall. One area I think I want to look at next year, and they'll love to hear it, this is the Municipal Gas and Light Department. They just built a new transfer station in the Montrose section of town. I think that we should be getting a little bit more pilot program from them, and I'd be looking for a little over $1 million this year. We got $850,000 last year. I don't think this is an outrageous amount, but I think it is important myself. Part of our plan was to use free cash to balance a portion of this budget. This is the arrangement that we made with the school department, and that's in there too. And new growth, which has been coming in over $1 million a year, I have it in at $750,000. Again, I'd love that number to come higher, and that just means we use less of our own funds. But that's what I kind of put that on. So those are the challenges that we face on the revenue side. So total, we're looking at revenues about $83 million. Then we get to the budgets, and we look at operating budgets, fixed costs. Operating budgets, I am looking at holding that to around 3% from last year. When you work in contracts in the school department, that's where we should be. And I think that'll work out pretty well. Fixed costs are pretty much flat, maybe a 2% increase there. Capital, we're going to keep the same at $2 million. The articles that we do at town meeting, the biggest one being trash, and that actually has come down because of the new system. That's about $2 million. $2.8 million for debt service, that's a known number up there, that's to pay off our bonds. And last year, we skipped putting more money in the stabilization fund, or this current year, fiscal year we're in now. I think that we should continue that next year to pay ourselves first. Some of the other items on the budget are overlay account, $600,000, that's put money if we have any tax abatement issues. State and country assessments, this one is a guess. This is charter schools is in here, the MBTA is in here, about $557,000. Charter schools about $800,000, so that is an issue that we look at. Cherry sheet offsets are just money that goes directly to the library. Snow and ice overdraft, I am happy to say that to date, we haven't spent any on snow and ice overdraft this year. Last year, we spent about $1.2 million, and of that, we are hoping to get around $300,000 back from the federal government. We don't have that final number approval yet, but we should be getting about $300,000 back from FEMA. The way that FEMA looks at it, they don't look at the whole winter, which was horrible. They look at an event, so we're able to get it for a couple of events. So I'm happy about that. So when we add that up, our total expenses are around $83 million. And when we look at this, we're looking at about a $90,000 area that I need to come up with and figure that out. But that's not too bad for December 14th. These are my big uncertainties.
And you always understate the local
I
seats
usually-
and growth,
well,
and there's
I'm-
always so much.
I would say that I'm conservative.
I think we're fine.
Right.
State aid is always an uncertainty. Year-to-date, the state is been doing okay, but you never know what's gonna happen there. Health insurance is also somewhat of an uncertainty, but I maintain that the GIC will continue to pay dividends. In fact, their 3-year plan was around 2%, and I've held that in there as well. We've also done a great job in really working with our employees, and the same doctors, the same hospitals are on a different plan that's actually cheaper. Why wouldn't they do it? They save money and we save money. So we've been doing that. School priorities, the schools need to adhere to the agreement that we made. That is essential. I've shared that information with the superintendent and with board members that over there that care to listen to me. Some of them don't, but that's always an interesting issue there. Local receipts, it's an uncertainty. I usually try to be a little bit conservative there, like Selectman Falvey said. And snow and ice. The long-range forecast I have right here is still pretty good, so I'm feeling pretty good there. Very brief for December 15th, where I think we are. I think we're in a good place right now. We've already started the capital program with DPW going out to the different departments to bring that all together. Kevin Gill has actually sent the budgets out already to all department heads to come back in. My mantra to them is that if they were going to increase any expenses, they were to come to me, or Kevin, first to talk about it. And one of my department heads said that she did need to increase her budget expenses a little bit for some items that weren't capital. And could she reduce some other areas to cover that? And I thought that was great, because a lot of people just ask for it, and she kept the bottom line. So the department heads really try to do a good job on this, so. That's where we are, Madam Chair.
Excellent.
Any questions or concerns?
Any questions, comments,
Good job.
concerns at this
Good.
point?
Excellent.
Nice.
We'll get there.
Excellent. Okay. Does anyone have any comments before we adjourn? Phyllis?
Oh, yes, I have something very important to
Okay.
say tonight.
Excellent.
It refers, you know how I feel about the World War II Memorial and the park, how important it is. And I think a few months ago, I came before you and spoke about replacing the rails, that they're in such bad shape, okay? Well, anyway, some of this work has been done. And the WCNA is requesting $20,000 from the town's community block grants for the Upper Common to finish replacing this railing. And I think it's very, very, very important. As of November 2015, all the materials for the completion of the first half of this has been acquired and is stored in the town's supply DPW area. I think it's important if we could get that done to finish whatever else we can do before the whole winter sets in. So, because everything there is being deteriorated and getting worse, okay? So we're hoping that the weather will allow us to complete the installation. Now, there were $34,000 expended to date that has cleaned out the WCNA's coffers, that they have run out of money. And the total cost for this is somewhere around $80,000. And the total estimate now, the balance is like $46,000. And I would ask this board, we do have, I think, the Wakefield has undertaken this job. The money would come from the Community Block Grant Fund, and I would ask this board to please give them $25,000 from this fund to help them to complete this job.
Phyllis, can I clarify? You had said 20 earlier and now 25. I just want to make sure.
They asked for 20, I would like to give them 25.
May I ask how much is in that fund?
More than 25. About
I'm sure-
170,000 is.
You remember, the same fund gave $95,000 for the
Right.
poles.
That includes that 95, though.
You're right.
Yeah.
Right.
Why don't we just do the whole thing all at once? Why don't we just give you the whole 47,000 and be done with it? You know what I'm
It
saying?
needs to be
I
done.
would like to do that, but I didn't
Okay,
know.
we can-
Well, I'm gonna make that motion.
And I'll second it.
That would be
I mean,
just-
really.
That would be
I rounded
wonderful.
up to 50 while we're at it.
Any discussion?
You know,
Okay.
just be done with it.
All right.
And this is
And
the
it will
area.
be completed and done, and it'll look beautiful.
not be coming
The
back.
park will be
You're on a roll.
beautiful. You know?
Lower common. These are the
Yeah.
green, you can see some of them are placed
Right,
around
yeah,
the lower
right.
common. They
Why
really
do
look
it-
good.
Why do it half-baked? Do the
Right.
whole thing.
And it's
Be
central
done
to
with
the
it.
town, and people see it coming
Right.
in.
I
and
mean,
it's-
you look at the work done around the Galvin, I mean, we need to carry that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Could I request that we say up to $46,000?
Yes.
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 Just for that purpose.
All right. All right, that's my motion, up to 46,000.
Second.
All right?
Okay.
You might as well say up to 50.
All in favor of donating
Aye.
up to, not donating, moving
Thank
money
you.
up to
Thank you.
46.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Good job, Phyllis.
Well done, Phyllis. Anything else? Are you,
That's it.
all right, excellent.
Except, these are beautiful Christmas cards. I hope nobody gets angry with me.
Merry-
However,
Merry Christmas.
at the bottom of this Christmas card, I wrote Merry Christmas.
There you go.
Okay.
I second that.
Any other comments?
You better stop while you're ahead.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Don't push a friendship there, Phyllis. Yeah, I would just like to remind everyone that Christmas is coming, as everyone knows. You can't walk down the street or turn on the TV without realizing that there are advertisements out there. But please don't forget the food pantry. And also, there are Toys for Tots, and there's all kinds of charities out there, and you'll really feel great if you do that. Before I wish everyone a Merry Christmas, I would like to say, I am the selectman that was being referred to, all right, by the gentleman that spoke in public participation, and he's left. I would have gladly spoken to him after this meeting, unless he's waiting outside, which I'll be happy to speak with him out there. I was elected to this board, all right, to listen to complaints from residents of this community. And it's not just one complaint, and it's not just about one thing, it's several things. And I drive Steve crazy, I'm sure, but I'm not gonna let it go. So if he's watching at his home in Revere, if this goes through to Revere, or if he's sitting outside in the entryway, I'll be happy to speak with him when I'm leaving here. But I'm not backing down, and I will continue to work for the citizens in this
I would
community.
expect nothing less.
Go get 'em.
And
Pat.
I just-
Merry Christmas to everyone.
Bah humbug.
No, I like this holiday. Merry Christmas.
And everyone, I just want to say thank you all for coming to my father-in-law's wake this past weekend. He was Richard Warshaw. He was a great man. He was a good father, good grandfather, former U.S. Marine, and a very proud native of Wakefield. So thank you to all. He'll be missed.
But yes.
Just real briefly, I'm not gonna go through names or anything, but the holiday stroll recently was on the December 5th. To anyone and everyone that had any bit of help, lent a helping hand, volunteers, committee person, town employee, thank you very much from the EPC. We couldn't have done it without any of all of your support. A great day had by everyone. Beautiful weather. Over 10,000 people came into the town. Another benefit to the community. So many thanks. I would like to extend to everyone in the public and this entire board a very Merry Christmas and a happy holiday season.
Brian?
I'm all set.
All
Good, thanks.
I just have one item. The second meeting in January, we will be talking about Steve Mayo's performance review. I have it here to pass out. I'm proposing a slightly different
Thank you.
methodology this year, that if you would like to
Finally.
send me your comments, and then I will compile them, as opposed to going around repeating the similar comments. So if, and if someone is against doing that, that's fine. You certainly can make comments at the meeting, but this way I can compile.
Can I propose a change, please?
Sure.
I think that the chairman, I mean, you can get input from all of us.
Right.
But the chairman should perform a performance review once a year with, with the town administrator. I'll propose it right now if everybody else agrees. This process is,
Well, use the process as a guide. I wouldn't expect anyone to.
but we should give our comments to you
Sure.
and you
Okay,
do,
I have no problem with that.
is it, I don't know if everyone agrees, but.
I don't know what our policy is, and I'd certainly make a vote to change the policy and go to, I don't know if that's written in your contract that you
I
have to
think
re.
it's just that I'm reviewed.
Yeah, that he's
Okay.
reviewed, so I'm with you, Pat. I'm with you on that.
I make a motion that we put the chairman, whoever that may be at the time, yearly will receive comments from the selectmen and provide a annual review for the town
Second.
administrator.
Any discussion on that or disagreement?
Madam Chair,
Certainly.
obviously I'm not for or against, but I just want to point out that under the 2010 open meeting law revisions, any performance reviews that are actually made out by selectmen
Sure.
become public records.
Yes,
Sure,
Okay.
of course.
absolutely, thank you.
Yeah.
Any concerns? Okay. Sounds good then.
Do we need to vote on that, or?
Should we vote on it?
Yeah. There's a motion.
Make a
Yeah.
motion.
Sure,
There's a
certainly.
motion, a
Pat
second.
made a motion, somebody said I second it.
All in favor that
Aye.
you send me
Aye.
comments and I'll. Thank you. Motion passed. I'd like to wish everyone a very happy last day of Hanukkah and a Merry Christmas. Motion to adjourn?
So moved, Madam Chairman.
All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent.